Hi, and welcome to this edition of Mashiach ben Yosef, the Messiah, son of Joseph, and his relationship to the nations, i.e. universal Torah. I'm Rabbi David Katz. In this week's class, we'll be going over that concept, along with the Torah of Shem, and the work of the Kol HaTor, the law authority of the redemption, particularly Mashiach ben Yosef and the nations, by the Vilna Gaon, in the expanded edition called Midrash Shlomo. We're going to begin with a blessing that we say traditionally on Friday night at the Shabbos table with our children, a blessing to Ephraim and Manasseh. This is a tribute to the Beit Yaakov International Group, and is my hope and desire that we can begin to disseminate the Torah of the Vilna Gaon, Kol HaTor, Mashiach ben Yosef, universal Torah to the nations. Basically bringing the Shekhinah to Jerusalem, making redemption a possibility to the furthest most extent of the world. And Beit Yaakov International intends to be a part of this as a type of leading the way. And again, it's my hope and desire this can be the beginning of many such relationships around the globe, so that the nations can bring tribute to Jerusalem and help build the third temple, culminating with prophecy and the charge of King David to King Solomon in Tehillim, Psalms, namely Psalm 72. With that said, we'll go ahead and say the blessing as per the request of the nations, i.e. the 10 lost tribes and their Ger counterpart, are termed by the prophets, namely Jeremiah, simply by the name of Ephraim. Yisimcha Elohim ke Ephraim u'Menashe. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Yair Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasim lecha shalom. This is that Hashem should place you like Ephraim and like Manasseh, sons of Joseph. Hashem should bless you and guard you. Hashem should shine on His face onto you and bestow His grace upon you, which we say that grace stands for the hidden wisdom in the terms of Kabbalah. Hashem should lift His face upon you, and He should place for you shalom. And as we're gonna learn in Midrash Shlomo, shalom is not only necessarily your prerequisite term for peace. Obviously, modern Hebrew, it's hello and goodbye. We're not going to say that. We're going to say it means peace or wholesomeness. But here, in the works of the Vilna Gaon, shalom has a connotation of equality. That all things should be made equal. The biggest example is Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben Yosef. Granted, they have different tasks and responsibilities. But to say one is higher, better, or more regarded than the other is counterintuitive to the redemption process. We can only be redeemed and carry about redemption if we have equal levels for all parts of the redemption process. For example, all four houses of Israel, Cohen, Levi, Israel, Ger. To leave out Ger and say, well, then it throws everything off, and it actually will come out to hold back redemption. All things must be made equal. Major principle in the Vilna Gaon. To give a bit of a background why Ephraim and Manasseh, especially in regards to Kol HaTor and the redemption, there's a famous passage in the Talmud and in the Midrash. 4 craftsmen of redemption is prophesied in the book of Zechariah, however you'd like to say it. The most basic or common version of this passage is in Sukkah 52b of the Talmud Babylonian Talmud. The 4 craftsmen are mentioned there: Messiah, son of David, Messiah, son of Joseph, Elijah, and the righteous priest. Rashi will identify the 2 messiahs as the leaders of building the third temple. That's why they're craftsmen. Elijah is our famous Elijah, as he built the altar where the prophets of the Baal were taken out. And the righteous priest, Shem, the son of Noah, Melchizedek, Torah of Shem, all these put together, the righteous priest, because, as Rashi mentions, Shem helped build the ark with Noah. For that right, he is a craftsman, referred to the Midrash Rabbah of Abraham and Shem. Abraham strengthened Shem with mitzvot, and Shem strengthened Abraham with a profound attachment to God. It goes without saying of the Melchizedek Abraham union in Parshas Lech Lecha, chapter 14, where Shem and Abraham traded gifts and blessings. There are, however, several other versions of the story of who is who. One that I like to dwell on, as it's, I think, most not apropos, but it brings all the other sources together. The other versions, there's small differences in how it's written, but in Parshas Naso of the Midrash, it says that there is the Messiah from the sons of Ephraim and Manasseh, Elijah and the Goel HaGadol, the great Redeemer, the son of David. When we speak about Ephraim and Manasseh there, Ephraim is a reference to the priest anointed for war, aka Pinchas, the Kohen, and the Messiah who hails from the tribe of Manasseh. Is a discussion amongst the authorities of what or who that means. The most basic understanding is that Elijah, Ephraim, and Manasseh harass the Amalekite powers with their might, setting the stage for the Messiah, son of David, to redeem the whole world. And that's the blessing we have for Ephraim and Manasseh. Now we begin the work. This will be a class outlining a program that we hope to install, Kol HaTor, the voice of the turtle dove, or more visible to the verse itself, the Kol HaTor nishma be'artzenu, and the voice of the turtle dove has been heard in our land. That's how the pasuk of the verse speaks. The work itself, as you can see, is called Kol HaTor. This is the work from the Vilna Gaon students, the Torah of the Vilna Gaon. The light of redemption began in the year 1740, 6 a.m. on the paradigm clock. The wisdom came down both in physicality and in spirituality. The Vilna Gaon spearheaded the spiritual movement of Mashiach, namely, let's call it the spiritual wisdom, which led to the students, not only the Vilna Gaon, but for the entire Hasidic movement as well. They joined forces in the land of Israel, right where we are now, in the city of Sfat. At the same time, physicality had unprecedented levels of advancement and wisdom as well. The train system took off with the technology at hand to make it possible. And banking, we all know the famous Rothschild story that took off around that time as well, which by the end of this 100 years of profound wisdom that was coming to the world, you'll have the Rockefeller estate coming at the end of that 100 years. That will lead you into the mid-1800s, when Zionism will become hijacked by the powers of the West. The Yishuv, the Israeli settlement, will become an expansion beyond the old city's walls. Soon you'll find yourself in the middle of a World War I, a budding Zionist movement, many conspiracy theories, and many whodunit theories as well. What and why was World War I, which led to World War II, with a lot of the same in between the two wars, ultimately culminating with the land of Israel being given to the Jewish people on their soil, much to the chagrin of the Arab residents, and that will basically lead you till today. The wisdom never stopped coming down, however. There are those that would continue the work of the Vilna Gaon, and the technological movement, as we know today, is alive and well. namely in the land of Israel. Actually, both movements, I would say, are spearheaded from the land of Israel. Thus, when one can say that the Vilna Gaon's initiatives have been achieved, secure the land of Israel, physical and spiritual wisdom is bursting forth, and now the other side has gotten involved, which is not outside the anticipation of the Vilna Gaon. With that, we're looking to close the deal on the final redemption. The problem at hand is, how do we understand the Kol HaTor book? It's a very vague and difficult book to understand. It is my belief, and this is just a belief, there may be a more valid reason for what I'm about to say. The Kol HaTor is a digest of 7 chapters. That's a fact. It says it on the cover. Everyone knows this to be true. Which leads the skeptics to question its validity and authenticity. At the time of Zionism gaining traction in the end of the 19th century through the current age, the religious Orthodox Jewish world, it was not in their best interest to advocate a secular Zionism. From that, you have many movements such as the Neturei Karta, the various sects of the Hasidic movement that are against the state of Israel for supposedly having violated the infamous 3 oaths of the tractate of Ketubot in the Talmud. Namely, you shall not make mass aliyah, or how you say aliyah in English, you should not all come to Israel with force and take up citizenship against the local neighbors, for if you do, it will incur a wrath of heaven upon you. Some will say we see this happening in our days. Some will say even though we do see it happening, it was inevitable. The Vilna Gaon's treatise on this agrees with the entire thing. A, it had to happen, it will happen, it's not going to happen the right way, but that's part of the program. From it not happening the right way, you will come to do it the right way. Again, because of the turmoil of secularism, the keys and understanding of the Kol HaTor have been buried until recent times. That's partly my own theory. The books that I'm about to explain had disappeared off of the landscape, and that's why I believe the way I do. I've not researched it to its end to find out that fact, and it doesn't really concern me. Because what I'm holding in my hands here is a work called Midrash Shlomo. It's part of Dorish L'Tzion, and there are 2 other Sfarim I have, part of a greater set. I don't remember offhand what they're called, they're just sitting right over there. I just choose not to get up in front of the camera to show you. But there are 4 books in the set, and not including the Kol HaTor. When you get into these other 4 books, 3 of which, not including Midrash Shlomo, journal and document the Vilna Gaon and Hasidic travels in the land of Israel outside the old city of Jerusalem, what they call establishing the Yishuv, the Israeli settlement. This happened mostly in Jerusalem and in Sfat, again where we're broadcasting now. It documents their travels, their ideologies, and how they implemented their ideologies in their travels. And it's moderately interesting and requires a much further study. But what is vastly interesting is Midrash Shlomo, the main part of this text. When you get into it, there are 40-some chapters, 49 chapters of Midrash Shlomo corresponding to the parshiot of the Torah. Right, we're going to start and actually go over this class today. Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of Midrash Shlomo, and he explains how Rosh Hashanah is the keys to what the Vilna Gaon calls Torat Eretz Yisrael. Now, anyone who's followed Rav Kook Judaism knows the Torah, the land of Israel, is the main ideology and theology of the state of Israel from Rav Kook. And a lot of extensions from Rav Kook. One of which today is a contemporary in Jerusalem, Rabbi David Bar Chaim. Every subsequent chapter in Midrash Shlomo, Yom Kippur, then he goes into Sukkot, then he goes into all the parshiot of the year, showing how the Torah, the Chumash, is really chapter by chapter mitzvot, commandments, universally appreciated, not just Jewish, how it can be universally established in the land of Israel such that the complete redemption will come about from those established precepts. And as through the efforts and involvements of the Messiah, son of Joseph, universal Torah, the greater house of Israel, the Jew and the Ger working together in what's called the gathering of the exiles, and much, much more, that will ultimately lead to a Messiah, son of David, revelation in the world. And as we said in our theory of stability of the concept, there must be absolute equality and unity in these two Messiahs, in their process, in their times, in their development, characters, themes, people, places, etc., etc. Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David, the beginning of the redemption and the end of the redemption must be of equal import. The Kol HaTor seeks to set that established fact and precedent through Messiah, son of Joseph, which is very difficult to understand without Midrash Shlomo. And as we're saying that in the Zionist of the secular caliber in call it the 20th century, late 19th century, it became very not in style in the Orthodox world to be involved in such things because of the deep Sitra Achra, other side, satanic movements of the West. You might call it conspiracy theories of today, but the Vilna Gaon would call it hijack Zionism, which we see became a hijack Zionism. And Orthodox Judaism believes in the Zionism concept. And the Satmar Hasidim, as we've seen, they actually do believe it is a Samach Mem movement in the state of Israel in its Zionist Western format. But yet underneath of it all is a kosher stream of Vilna Gaon Zionism called Zionit Groit, so fear not. It is not a lost cause. But with the absence of normative Orthodox involvement, the greater Kol HaTor sect has been, if not removed, simply ignored. I don't know how it came into my possession, actually, these books. I found them on what's called Otzer Chachma, 50,000 books on disc, which I bought for my research and studies. Doing a Kol HaTor search led me to Midrash Shlomo, to where I first realized there was such a thing. I had heard rumors over the years of an expanded Kol HaTor, but no such luck would let me ever lay my eyes on this mysterious work. When I found Midrash Shlomo online, with a phone number of how to purchase the entire set, I set my efforts and eyes on such a thing and bought the set. Going through Midrash Shlomo, I soon realized that they both have, it's the same author of the entire set. Same words, same mochin, same characters. It's like we say, how, was it in Ezra's time, or the king, one of the kings of the first temple, I forget which era, but they found the book of Devarim. And they didn't know about it. It was lost for X amount of time. That's how I felt when I found Midrash Shlomo. After being an advocate of Kol HaTor for many years, to come across Midrash Shlomo was a bit of an archaeological find in similar terms. Going through its pages, finally, the secrets of Kol HaTor became revealed. And not due to some kind of mystical experience, but because that is indeed the function of Midrash Shlomo. To unpack and unravel and reveal what are the contents of Kol HaTor. All of the mysterious anomalies have become revealed. Who and what is Mashiach ben Yosef? Who and what is Armilus? Who are the Anshe Amana? What is the returning of the exiles? What is Ephraim? What is Menashe? all of these questions that any serious student of Kol HaTor would have engaged in years would now suddenly have the answers as if they fell out of the sky, given to them in Midrash Shlomo. It need not sound fantastic, because it is written literally and simply put in Midrash Shlomo. For whatever reason, Midrash Shlomo was removed from the earlier generations on whatever level, and today it is back in our possession, neither taboo nor hard to find. And with that, we'll give an introduction and discourse of the first chapter of Midrash Shlomo concerning the ultimate repair of the redemption leading into Rosh Hashanah, the first holiday culminating the new year. Kol HaTor opens in the second chapter with 156 attributes or aspects of Mashiach ben Yosef. To get into what those aspects are, you will not understand. In fact, you will not understand until you've learned and looked up all 156 aspects. The word aspect need not enter your psyche because it's a non-word. Whatever it is, there's 156 stuff, to put it in a vulgar English for you, because to get it out of that vulgar English, you will have to learn through the attributes and find out what really is the world of Mashiach ben Yosef. This is how the study is to take place of Mashiach ben Yosef. Mashiach ben Yosef is not a person, a time, a thing. It's a world, it's a study into itself, it's not a hobby. So to look back at a Mashiach ben Yosef movement that went amok 2,000 years ago really holds no water whatsoever in light of where we're going. We're going into the third temple. We're going into a time of redemption. And the study of Kol HaTor proper, we'll call that, is a product of the wisdom that came down at 6 a.m. on the 6th day of creation on our paradigm clock. It's a light that is brand new. Nothing will ever shine like it again. It's a new light. It's never going backwards or dimming. It is only leading towards the redemption. It's a handoff from the Arizal Kabbalah, from the Zohar, ultimately from the tradition of Shemai and of Talion, the Gerim who gave the revelation to the Arizal at their graveside. They received the tradition going back to the Hanukkah miracle. Hanukkah was the beginning, for all intents and purposes, for the light of redemption. Our job is to release that light from the klippa, or the evil shells that suck and hold on to the lights of redemption. If the redemption began at the time of the Chashmonayim, it's our job to bring it into its completion. To bring a full cycle of Mashiach ben Yosef, and then a further handoff to Mashiach ben David. All the while, no part greater than any other part. A steady pipeline of equality and unity. The first of 156 attributes of Kol HaTor, 156 being the numerical value or gematria of Joseph himself, Joseph being 156. The first attribute speaks of 4 nicknames, if you will, for the Messiah, son of Joseph. Remember that there's another term for Messiah, son of Joseph, Mashiach ben Ephraim. Maybe even the more popular name, as the Zohar becomes intimate with this name of the Messiah. Kol HaTor is a gematria book, meaning it deals with mochin, intellect. That to know if a concept, word, passage has redemptive quality, the numerical value or gematria would show as such. Thus, 156 aspects tells you Joseph is also the same gematria as Zion. By definition, that would be a redemptive quality. To bring us to the first attribute, there are four nicknames of Ephraim. Ephraim Bechori, Ephraim my firstborn. This would relate to the Jewish nation proper, as the firstborn Israel. Haben Yakir li Ephraim. A valuable son to me is Ephraim. And as we know in the mitzvah to honor one's parents, the word for kavod, honor, is synonymous with yakir, precious. So when we say that Ephraim is a son blank to me, blank meaning precious or that of honor. Ephraim is a precious son of mine. Ephraim is an honorable son of mine. Ephraim wanders north and south. We say that the Ger and the lost tribes come in the northern kingdom, just as they went out through the northern kingdom by the destruction of Nebuchadnezzar, or Nebuchadrezzar, with the anomaly of the Resh in place of the Nun, showing a prophecy of the future. As they went out to Babylon, they will come in from Babylon into the northern kingdom, prophesied by the Nun of Nebuchadnezzar and not Nebuchadrezzar. The Ger are to perform the Shalom, peace offering of the north. Again, staying with our theme, peace meaning equality. And they will move south to Taman, or Jerusalem, where they will endeavor to make the Shlamim in the Beit HaMikdash, the third temple. The north is a place of the Ola, and we come south to join in the Shlamim together. The fourth category is Har Ephraim, the mountain range of Ephraim. This would be the West Bank today. The West Bank is famous for the times of Sencherib, of mixing the peoples of the world. And at that time we had our Kutim, the Kutites, the Geri Arayos, the converts of lions. The Samaritans, in today's language, they were the converts who were not totally sincere, but converts not the right word. They were actually Gerei Emes, true Gerim, a subtype of Ger, and the name Har Ephraim is a reference to all of our Ger brethren throughout the world. So here you have the lost Jews, here you have Jews, you have Gerim, you have the exiles coming in, and one precious people coming in, Jew, Ger, lost tribe, etc. This entire process is called the gathering of the exiles. So Mashiach ben Yosef is a blanket term for the exiles and their gathering. The exiles went out to four corners of the universe. Some are lost tribesmen, many are Gerim. What unites them and brings them back will be the universal Torah. The Ger of the Chumash, the 5 books of Moses, is the root of the universal Torah. There are a lot of parts of Torah that are inherently Jewish, but there's another 50% at least of our Torah that is universal in spirit. The Jewish people are accustomed to learning what is particular to them in Jewish for them. The nations of the world, lost tribe, Ger, together, are awaiting the revelation of the universal Torah. The Torah of the tree of life. The inner dimension of the Torah. Another way of saying this, as Midrash Shlomo puts it, the inner dimension of the Torah, as opposed to the revealed dimension of the Torah, is none other than the Torah of Shem and Aver. Or, in other words, the Torah of Shem. The Torah of Shem, as a universal Torah, is the hidden aspect of Sinai. As we know from the Rambam's laws of Ger Toshav, what makes a Ger Toshav kosher is that he recognizes Sinai. What will be the beacon light from Sinai? The Torah of Shem. As we know that Shem was latent at Sinai for 1,300 years beyond his stay in this world. That Shem is forever synonymous with Sinai. For anybody looking for the God of Israel, Shem, the Torah of, will be his guiding light. It's there that he'll find the Torah and come ultimately to the Torah of Moses, the vessel that contains the light of the Torah of Shem. So who is our friend the Ger? What is a Ger? Ger being the fourth house of Israel. Anybody in the world who will come to recognize the God of Israel. Prophetically, we're told the entire planet will come to recognize the God of Israel. Who was a Ger? The Gerim dwelled with Israel alongside the first and second temples. There were 10 tribes that got exiled out. Gerim went with them. If there was a portion of land called Dan, there were Gerim with those tribesmen. If there was Naphtali, there were Gerim with the tribesmen. If there was Gad, there was tribesmen with Gad. If there was Asher, there were Gerim with Asher. And so it was with all the tribes. Where did they go? As the tribes got kicked out of the northern kingdom and the Gerim with them, eventually, as we're seeing in our time, the entire world became Judified. Some were influenced directly by Jews, the 10 lost tribe Jews. The rest would be influenced by the Ger. Does it really make a difference? Probably not. As the Gerim were intimate within Israel, they're the fourth house of Israel, they would have known Judaism and the God of Israel just as the Cohen, Levi, and the Israel. Even though each portion of Israel has their own direct relationship with God, we should not look down on the Ger in his relationship with God. Again, Mashiach ben Yosef stands for that equality and unity. And why do we focus on the Ger? Number one, it's a reality. To deny the Ger is to deny the Torah itself, the Torah of Moses. Number two, it is heavily latent in the prophecies. You can always twist and turn a prophecy to find your Savior. The Messianic Judaism religion, or Messianic Christianity for that matter, shows this to be true. They can twist and turn and try and attempt to make anything fit their scheme. But that's not scholarship, and that is not integrity to the text itself. Another lesser evil would be to say that the prophetic Ger is the convert, and all 7 billion people will convert to Judaism in the end of days. That too is contrived. That too is a vexation of spirit. The true nature of the prophecies in the Torah speaks of the Ger. If there was a prophecy who speaks of a convert or of some other entity, then so be it. But what I've seen, for example, in Isaiah 14:1, the house of Jacob will have attached onto it the Nilvim, the Gerim, the northern kingdom, like our favorite passage in Ezekiel chapter 37. The Gerim come in the northern kingdom. The first fruits brought to the temple in the Chumash itself speaks about the Ger. All these prophecies rooted in the Torah of Shem, which is a Torah of prophecy. The Ger is a star of the show that in the end of days he is destined to come back with the tribes, and many, if not all the prophecies of the Tanakh in some way, shape, or form relate to the Ger himself. Thus the Ger is extremely relevant, especially these times as we see a Ger revival. It appears we are in the sacred time of the end. To reveal that time, the Ketsa Magola, the revealed end, would, as the Vilna Gaon explains in Midrash Shlomo, Kol HaTor, that perfecting these attributes in times and people